If you ever paint on canvas and store your paintings in a closet or somewhere else, you occasionally might come across one that gets ripped or torn. I just found one painting, a big one, in the closet that needs to be repaired. Let me show it to you. Now this painting was one I did in 2010 when I first started painting. So it's not my favorite, and there's parts of it that I don't really like, but my husband really likes it because I painted this of a building that we saw in Rome when we went there for a trip. And it has nice warm colors, and we need a spot in the house for a painting, and he really wants it there. So unfortunately, I just drug it out of the closet, and the sky has a hole. So I'm gonna see if I can patch it. So I thought you might want to follow along and see how you would do that. I'm not the expert on patching, but let's see if we can make it better. Cut it out of its frame, and I set it on the table. In looking at it, I almost think I need to trim some of these rough little pieces, but I'm not really sure. So let's add a little support on the back side. I'm going to try a technique to fix this that is probably not recommended. I've done this in the past many years ago for canvas, but I no longer work on canvas. And I believe that you used an extra piece of canvas on the back of the painting to kind of glue it together. And I don't have any canvas. I don't want to buy canvas for this painting because, like I said, it's not super quality. If it was a real quality painting, I probably would try to send it to someone to do it. But this is how I'm going to fix this one. And I'm going to use a special Japanese paper and glue it on the back. So let me show you what I'm going to do. So this is my washi paper, and this is what it looks like. It's known for its strength and longevity, and it's used for painting conservation. It's made of Gozo, Gompi, Mitsumata fibers that come from plants. I cut a smaller piece of the washi out of the bigger piece. I did lay some wax paper underneath my frame. And then I'm going to use this glue. It's Yamato. It's also Japanese, so I can't tell you what it's made out of, but I used it last time. Nori washi glue. There you go. Goes with washi. You know, I'm probably not the best example of how to do this. I think you probably use some kind of implement, but we'll forge ahead. So I put it on the back of the painting and on the back of the washi paper. And now I'm going to press it down. And the next step, I'm going to put this piece of wax paper over this, which I think is not supposed to stick. And then I'm taking a very heavy book and putting on it for weight. Okay, there you have it. We'll come back tomorrow and check it out. Okay, back to it. It's actually a couple days later because it didn't dry out and I had to take the book off and let it kind of air dry. So let me show you where we're at. So this is the back of the painting, and it dried real nicely. But this is the front of the painting, and you can still see that crack. Now I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but I've decided rather than just try to fill in a lot of paint right here, I'm going to put another little piece of that washi paper over it. We'll see what happens. So I put a little teeny strip of that washi paper over this, and it laid so nice and flat. I think I'm going to be able to paint over that better. So now this one has to sit for a little while. So I have a book underneath, And I'm going to put my wax paper on top so I can make sure that it lays flat. And then I'm going to put my big book back on top. And you can't really tell that there's a patch on both the front side and the back side. And this brings to mind what I've mentioned before, is that if you're using canvas to paint, once you put something behind it, the light shows through. This is a good example of that. So I put a piece of cardboard behind it, and now the tricky part is probably trying to get this touched up so it's not noticeable. I have no idea what color I used for this back in the day. It honestly looks kind of like white with occasional bits of yellow and maybe a hint of blue. But I gotta figure that out. The other option is just completely repainting what there is of the sky, but once you start repainting things, it kind of snowballs from there, and I really don't want to redo this whole painting. So let me give the white thing a try and we'll see what happens. I tried titanium white by itself and it did not work. So then I did a little AI search to see which is the best blue to use for a Mediterranean sky, and they said cerulean blue. So I became aware that I was just going to have to repaint the entire sky. You can sort of see that little strip covering that tear, but I'm just going to repaint the cerulean blue and hope it turns out okay. I ended up repainting the sky. As I mentioned, I might have to. It was like some kind of a weird white color. And now I use a cerulean blue with lots of titanium white. And at a distance, you cannot tell about that little tear. If you get really close, you can. But since this is for me in my house, it doesn't really matter. So anyway, there's a way around it when you get a tear in a painting. You can do it too. Happy painting!